Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering The Haunted Candy Factory, which is the 7th episode of the 2nd season of the new Scooby Doo movies, and it originally aired on October 20th, 1973. This episode sees the gang investigating a haunted candy factory in which the owner, Cass Elliot, has been trapped inside. Freeing up Cass Elliot, the gang are then pursued by some green, mischievous globs, which are kind of ghostly. Cass Elliot, of course, is famous for being the singer or one of the singers in the group The Mamas and the Papas. The Mamas and the Papas had some amazing hits like Monday Monday and California Dreaming, which are still timeless today. I'm a huge album collector, vinyl collector. I love music. And here's the Mamas and Papas debut album. I apologize if my green screen is messing up this album cover, but yeah, that's Mama Cass in the bathtub right there. And I love this band. I love their harmonies, and the music is amazing. If you haven't heard them, I suggest you check them out. A wonderful performer and singer, Cass Elliot died way too soon at the age of 32, only 9 months after this episode premiered. She had such a huge career ahead of her, and yeah, it's so unfortunate she passed away. And my favorite performance of Cass Elliot was probably in the 1970 Pufnstuf film, where she portrays a witch named Witch Hazel.
It's not so bad to be different.
Like I said, very tragic she passed away. Other than that, I don't have much in the way of trivia for this episode, so let's get on with the review. The episode begins with the gang driving through a storm late at night. They are lost in an industrial area of the town and stop in front of the Sugar Plum Candy Factory. A Cass Elliot's golden caramel bar is tossed at the mystery machine, and Scooby takes a good bite of the candy bar, only to hurt his teeth and find out that there's a skeleton key inside with a note. The note says, "Help, I'm a prisoner in the candy factory. Cass Elliot."
The Sugar Plum Candy Company.
Freddie, if you're planning on having a flat tire, this is the place to do it.
Cass Elliot's Golden Caramel Bar.
Oh! No!
There's a key inside.
With a note attached. It says, "Help, I'm a prisoner in the candy factory," signed Cass Elliot.
Yoo-hoo, it's me, Cass Elliot. Help, they're holding me prisoner.
Cass then yells out of the upper window saying she's being held prisoner until she is hauled off. Freddy unlocks the candy factory door with the skeleton key, and they find the inside quite eerie.
Cass Elliot locked up in a candy factory?
This skeleton key must open the padlock. We'll soon find out. Let's go inside.
Wait for me. Me too.
Wow, look at this place. There's something eerie about this place.
We also see two mud-like men, which I assume aren't covered in chocolate, and they float after the gang and demand that they depart.
This is where Cass Elliot was standing when she yelled down to us. There's not a trace of Cass anywhere.
This is a warning. Depart now while there is still time.
They then dip Shaggy in ginger candy and turn him into a Ginger Man statue, which Scooby gets to promptly eating. Meanwhile, Freddy, Daphne, and Velma fall down a secret passage after the Glob Men throw a switch. In the basement, they find Cass Elliot, who also fell through the trap door. They hear an electrical grinding noise that Cass Elliot says has been happening ever since she bought the place.
Yo! Ouch! You found a secret switch, all right.
Cass Elliot!
What are you doing here?
Hi, I see you kids found the note I stuck in the candy bar.
Listen, that's the same sound we heard when we came in.
It's been grinding like that every night since I bought this place.
You own this candy factory?
But the minute I bought it, weird things began to happen.
The gang reunite after Shaggy throws down some stringy licorice to pull Cass, Freddy, Daphne, and Velma out of the trap door. The gang hear the grinding noise once more and discover Mr. Crink, the foreman, locked in a storage closet by the Globmen. Mr. Crink calls the building a creep factory and quits on the spot.
Help! Let me out! Let me out!
It's Mr. Crink, the foreman.
You're ex-foreman. Those two green globs locked me in that storage closet. Candy factory? This is a creep factory, and I'm quitting.
With no staff, the gang volunteer to help run the factory. We also meet Mr. Franklin, the night watchman, who has worked at the factory for 50 years. As he walks off, one of the green globs snatches Mr. Franklin and disappears.
It's the two green globs.
Listen, there goes that grinding sound again.
That you, Cass Elliot?
Mr. Franklin, what a relief. It's Mr. Franklin, the watchman.
Oh, I've worked here, man and boy, for 50 years. No fuzzy green ghoulies are gonna scare me away. No, sirree, Bob.
What a nice old man.
One of them's got me! Help!
The gang hear a machine running and watch as the green globs start to make candy. The gang investigates the candy and sees the candy being sent to 13 Avenida del Sur, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
Now, why would two green globs haunt a candy factory just to make candy bars?
The candy seems perfectly normal. Something sure is fishy here.
All these crates are being sent to the same address in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Finding this fishy, the gang split up to look for more clues, and they encounter several haunted hijinks involving the green globs, along with lots of fun with various set pieces of candy like marshmallows, peanuts, bubblegum, and candy canes. Shaggy, Scooby, and Cass Elliot eventually find Mr. Franklin amidst a mountain of chocolate Easter bunnies. Mr. Franklin then chases after the green glob and tackles it. Unfortunately, Mr. Franklin is no match and is carried off once more. Freddy and the girls find a candy machine that is labeled Acme Metal Grinding Machine. Turning it on, they once again hear the grinding noise. Freddy tosses the skeleton key they found earlier into the machine, and the machine turns it into powder. Freddy also finds empty city bank bags.
This sure doesn't look like a candy machine to me.
Acme Metal Grinding Machine. Maybe it's for stale walnuts.
Let's see what it does to this key. Wow! City Bank. These are the kind of bags the banks use to carry money.
More chases occur and we get more haunted gags involving machinery and candy. Shaggy also accidentally turns himself into one of the green globs using a faulty cotton candy machine. Mistaken by one of the partners, Shaggy gets to work loading candy bars into a truck until Scooby licks all the candy off of Shaggy's face.
Let's hurry and load the rest of these cartons. Crikey! Cut that out! What did you say?
Go with you.
The rest of the gang are caught in a mess of purple taffy, so it's up to Scooby and Shaggy to trap the bad guys. Using bubblegum concentrate, they ultimately fail at trapping the ghosts, and Shaggy and Scooby end up getting trapped in the purple taffy along with the rest of the gang.
That taffy will hold those kids for hours.
And by then we'll be on our way to Brazil with all this luscious, rich candy.
Outside, the green globs are now loading up their truck that's headed to Rio, and they figure they have plenty of time to get away now that the gang are trapped. Using their heads, the gang free themselves by taking a bath in a tank of rock candy, which washes the taffy off. Fed up, Cass Elliot fires up a forklift and finally traps the green globs by hardening them up in a mess of candy apple gunk and chocolate. Detective Storm shows up and Freddy washes off the green globs, where we discover that it's Mr. Crink, the factory foreman, and Mr. Franklin, the night watchman. Velma removes the Mr. Franklin mask, and we learn it's Sterling Smith, an international gold smuggler.
I believe you about the green globs haunting this place, Cass.
The factory foreman, Mr. Crink! Mr. Franklin!
Just as I thought, a rubber mask.
This is Sterling Smith, the international gold swindler. Last month, he robbed the Citibank of $2 million in gold bricks.
We learned he robbed a Citibank last month of $2 million worth of gold bricks. Using the metal grinder, they were pulverizing the gold at night, turning it into chocolate bars, and shipping it across the border unnoticed. Seeing as Shaggy had already eaten a dozen or so of these candy bars, he probably has a few grand worth of gold in him.
They pulverized the gold in those metal grinding machines in the tower.
And then they poured it into the candy machines, and voila, a gold-filled Cass Elliot candy bar.
How else could I smuggle $2 million worth of candy bars out of the country?
How about that? My golden caramel bars really were golden.
What a sweet operation.
With another mystery solved, the gang, along with Cass Elliot, Detective Storm, and the real Mr. Franklin, sit down to a celebratory meal. I give this episode a 7 out of 10. At first I was thinking 6, but upon like a third or fourth viewing, I just liked this episode a little more and more. I liked how they incorporated all the candy elements into the episode and made full use of the candy factory. I really enjoyed this episode. What I did enjoy though was the weight jokes aimed towards Cass Elliot. They were kind of lame and cheap. Yeah, she's a bigger bone girl, but I don't know. I felt they were just cheap shots, and I thought the writers should have had more respect for Cass Elliot. Different is hard. And went beyond the surface. They could have done more with her, including having her sing. But yeah, we don't get any of that. Different is lonely. I did like the atmosphere of the Haunted Candy Factory though. And the green globs, they weren't that scary. They kind of looked meh. The design, not so great. They weren't that intimidating. Had they spent more time on the design, this episode would have been way, way, way cooler. But I guess, after doing these Scooby episodes, they were running maybe out of ideas at the time, or maybe they're just kind of keeping the episodes kid-friendly with their ghost designs with this run of this series. Cass Elliot does make for a fun guest star, and her performance elevates this episode for sure. She merges perfectly with the gang and adds just a lot of fun. The mystery is also kind of cool and decent, and I enjoyed the overall plot. Thank you again for any comments, views, likes, and subscribes. I always enjoy reading your comments. A lot of you are just as enthusiastic about Scooby as I am. A lot of you always just seem to enjoy my videos, and I appreciate you coming back week after week and watching them and commenting and sharing. And even if you don't share or whatever, that's okay too. As long as you're enjoying this stuff, I'm happy, right? Next week, I will be covering the final episode called The Haunted Carnival. And then after that, I'll be doing my review. And then I'll be going into the Scooby Doo show episodes I haven't reviewed yet. Probably after that, my summer hiatus. And then we'll be starting up again with more episodes in September. I will be releasing videos like I did last year during the summer, but they'll just be some quick, scrappy shorts. Anyway, until next week, stay spooky.